Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Women's Coffee Club. This morning, we'll be talking about the Mirror, Mirror on the Wall by Sandra Valks. But let me just say that we created this club to provide a safe space for women to share and inspire each other. And so thank you again for all of you coming in. And we're so grateful for Sandra. She has been one of the best speakers here. Her nickname is the Queen of Straight Talk. So her topic again this morning is Mirror, Mirror on the Wall. Who is the happiest of us all? So with that, Sandra, if you don't mind, tell us a little
This
bit
meeting is
about.
being recorded.
Oh, I don't know what that is.
That was
Sandra,
my laptop, sorry.
oh, it's okay. Sandra, if you don't mind, for those of us who don't know you, tell us a little bit about your background and then go ahead with your presentation. Thank you again, Sandra.
Thank you, Rini. Thank you, everyone, for coming along. A lot of familiar faces here and some new ones. My name is Sandra Valks. I am Compassionate Queen of Straight Talk, and I had to grow into that. It's not that I had to grow into it. I didn't know. You know, people would say, well, tell us what you really think. I just said what I had to think, you know? And I really, just being myself, didn't know any different. That was it. And so I was always putting myself down because people didn't know what to do with me. Really, they didn't know what to do with me. And it took a long time to go from being a product of society and the generations and everything that's expected at that time to come into my own. And so my joy is being this creative, curious, adventure. I don't even worry about who I am anymore. When people say, who are you and what do you do? I am a curious adventurer. Doesn't matter what I do. I'm curious, I'm creative, and I'm me. So that's me. And in terms of my background, I'm still looking after my financial clients of 40 years. And nobody really wants to buy a business that's kind of getting smaller and smaller. And most of my clients are old like me. So here I am still looking after them, but I'm not active in it. But what my passion is, as you can tell, is communication. And it's not only communication and opening your mouth, it's the wholeness of communication. See, in life, there's only three things that happen. We react to ourselves. And when we don't like what we have there that we see or we feel, we can blow it over and project it and blame others. You know, when others change, I'll be happy. Or circumstances. Oh my goodness, the news. Look what's happening in the world. We're all damned. Yeah, it's not very pretty. It doesn't matter how far back we go. There was always the population that was Pollyanna like me, and always the population that said we're doomed and damned and I'm going to die right now. Thank you very much. So that has been my experience. I've been around, I'm into my 7th decade here and don't know enough to go away. People still don't know what to do with me. Like, Sandra, what are you doing? Like, you're an old fart. What are you doing with pink in your hair? Where's that from? How come you're not retired? How come? I was in Uganda when the pandemic was declared. In Uganda, living with a refugee family. They were refugees from Burundi who had come around, and the refugees in Uganda, and I was living in their home. Met the young woman on Facebook, and as I was landing, I'm thinking, oh, I hope they're real, and I hope they really show up. And if they don't, this is going to be quite the adventure. So that, I think, is probably the best description of who is Sandra. I'm a little wonky, a little weird. And I like it that way now. It was a hard way to grow up and a hard way to make my way through. I had a marriage where, well, I grew up on the farm, so I was always that little kid from the farm. I never felt as smart as the city kids, you know, they were street smart or something, I don't know. But my sister and I both had to go through those decades of thinking we had to prove ourselves. And it turns out, growing up on the farm, you create and you mend and you invent. So we were actually way ahead of most people in terms of surviving and thriving and adventure. Yeah. And what I really do is actually invite people to go inside and know themselves. And the most important communication you'll ever have is with yourself. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the happiest of us all? Yeah. Who is happy? The one that's worried about, oh, what's Eva thinking about me right now? What's I can't see all the names. Laura, Mecca, are you rolling your eyes at me? Does it matter? It wouldn't matter. I know you're not rolling your eyes at me. Because this crowd wouldn't do that, because we're all a little bit wonky, and that's why we're attracted to each other. If we weren't a little outside the lines, we wouldn't be collected here. That's as simple as that. So everything we do, in my opinion, we have to look at, what are we saying? What's coming out of here? Where is it coming from? Is it coming from our brain, which is very important? Our brain is important. That helps us with the practicalities of living in this third dimensional world, this world that we're in. But I think all of us here, again, to be attracted to each other, recognize that why the Aborigines would have called this three-dimensional world, why we would call this the dream world. That was a stretch for me, that I really, wow, what we're living here is the dream. So if this is the dream world, when I wake up, who am I and where am I? Oh, when I wake up, which is when I'm sleeping in this dream world, I'm energy and that spiritual being. We can't die. We can lose this body, but then we'll go back to the ocean of spiritual energy. And that comes from a gal that was raised in the church. And when I was little, you knew God was going to get you. Oh, if you did something wrong, well, God's going to get me. Because it was all doom and gloom, you know. But then Jesus came along. Jesus loves you. God's going to get you, but Jesus loves you. So I grew up with a very strong conflict for myself, thinking, what do I do with that? So sometimes, well, a lot of times, for many decades, I walked on eggshells, thinking about how am I supposed to be good enough not to have God get me? And if I have to be all these things so God doesn't get me, how is Jesus going to love me? So we come right back around into, how am I good enough? And so any words, any terminology we use from whatever faith and whatever our belief is, and we all have a faith. That's another neat thing too. We all have faith. And we might want to say, oh no, I'm an atheist. Well, an atheist still has faith that when they turn on that electric switch, the lights are going to come on. When they turn the key in the car is going to start. They put on the accelerator, that's faith. It's an expectancy of faith that it's going to work. So that whole thing of having a whole new idea of faith was critical for me. You see, I had to peel away the traditional religion, the fixed structure of people telling me how I was supposed to be. And if I wasn't doing it their way, I was bad. And if I was doing it their way, oh, I was good. Well, we do those judgments ourselves. We find this group because we love each other the way we are outside the lines in whatever our belief is. But we don't like the people that irritate us. And so we don't go to a group where we're going to be remaining irritated all the time. It doesn't resonate for us. However, here's the conversation with ourselves so we can see where we're the happiest. Mirror, mirror, who is the happiest? Well, why am I irritated by those other groups? This is where you go deeper and deeper and deeper into the why. This would be called your 7 levels. I don't know if you've heard of the term 7 levels. But if you want to write down 7 levels, you're going to write down the 7 levels, and then you're going to make a list underneath. And it's going to be why, 7 levels deep of why. We can even try it with somebody that's brave enough to want to try it, to figure out who we are and what we do and why we care. So the 7 levels of why is very similar to what I'm talking about, that when I go into a group that irritates me, or if I'm with a person that I just can't stand them, is it a reflection because it's something I am, that I don't want that mirrored? I don't want to see that about myself? And do I choose to stay there? Do I choose to look at myself? Or do I choose to walk away? So now we start with boundaries and choices. It doesn't make those people or those groups good, bad, or indifferent. They are. They just are. They just are. We're all just doing what we're doing. So when we start judging them, it takes energy to judge. It really does. Because if I'm going to judge you, I'm going to say, yeah, well, you should be doing this and this and this and this, and this is wrong, and this is, can you feel the energy in me? I'm getting angry. I'm getting frustrated. You can feel it. Am I happy when I'm doing that? No. I don't know if you can feel it from me, but I can feel it when I go into that language. Now, if I turn around and say, oh, I could feel I was in a circumstance yesterday where I was being attacked. I'm the bad guy all the way around with a whole circus of people. I'm the executor on a will, and the family has been fighting for 30 years. I'm an outsider. I'm an outsider on purpose because nobody in the family could handle it, and it would be a bigger circus. Nobody would be able to be in control. So here I am. I don't want to be executor. Yeah, well, I have nobody else, and you're my friend, and you're educated, and so here I am. She passed away just before Christmas, and I am in a family circus, an absolute circus, and I can feel, in fact, over this time period, I'm recognizing that with the work I do, I had, more of my growing. Oh my, I like to coach people. I've done it all my life without even realizing it. And I've had trouble charging to do that service because it's something I just do. But as I feel the energy, the emotional energy it takes for me to hold other spaces and to hold spaces for people, I realize I come home and, oh, thank goodness for my own energy space to clear away that heavy stuff. And that's what I charge for. It cost me emotionally, it costs me physically, because then I'm tired when I get finished with that. And that's where I was starting to realize, yeah, with this coaching, the reason I'm good at it is because I have straight talk. And then I learned that the straight talk is not nasty and mean. It comes from an intention of love and goodwill. Now, not everybody's going to like me. Not everybody's going to want to work with me. Absolutely not. But I am not a babysitter. And that's the part about me recognizing me. If you're not strong enough to start choosing for you, then I'm not the one to work with. You're going to need a babysitter. And someday when you're ready to just say, piss on it, I'm ready to move forward. And I know that Sandra's just going to hold my feet to the fire. I'm ready. Then you would be ready to work with me. But before that, So all of this stuff, you see, has been discoveries about myself. And I invite you to be thinking about discoveries about yourself. Because until you have that conversation inside yourself, when you start to blame others or look out and say, well, when this changes or that, you're giving your power away. That's when you're giving your own power away. When you say, where is that happening? Is it me? Is it a blend? Do I want to be there? What's my boundary? That's all inside stuff. And you know where that's located? Down here in the heart, in the feelings and in the emotions. And without that, you're giving your power away. I wasn't even sure just exactly where I was going to go with this. This is me on my roll. But I did have a focus point here. I've got this beautiful book. Well, you can't see it. Here we go. My daughter-in-law gave it to me for a journal. It's lovely. It feels lovely. And I've got more than halfway through it, just journaling now and again. But I had made notes from, what's that? I can never remember. Charmine, doesn't matter. I made notes as he was talking about the 80-20 rule. We all know the 80-20 rule, called Pareto. We may not have had the name for it, but we know that 80% of our income comes from 20% of our effort. 80% of our income comes from 20% of our clients. It's just a beautiful rule. It's called the 80-20 rule. That's why we will hopefully be in the 20% of the population where we're awakening to the responsibility of ourselves. And hopefully we as a 20% would be able to start shifting the 80%. That's the best hope we have as we ripple out and ripple out and ripple out. But that 20% of our personal growth gives us 80% of our personal enlightenment. Going deep is where we start to shine and get happy. It truly is where I know they're called saboteurs. I know when we're in the ego world, in this three-dimensional world, and we're up in our head, you can feel when you're in your head and when you're just saying something. That's where the 7 levels of why will make a difference, because somewhere you'll get out of your head. Why is that important? Well, why is that important? Well, why is that important? Why is that important? Why is that important? That's why the 7 levels, because it eventually forces you down into your heart and you'll get to your truth. That's when you'll know that that 20% of that work produced 80% of your happiness inside. So we call those the ego, the saboteurs, the voice in our head. Whether we're judging somebody or being a stickler or whether we're being avoiding something, putting off, procrastinating, it doesn't matter. All that nonsense and noise over here is ego getting in our way. And we want to just quiet that voices down by shifting it over here and being responsible for it. And then using our wisdom. I know we think about, oh, but here's the smart thing to do. And we have that. So it's that shifting and controlling what we're telling ourselves and what we're accepting from other people, bringing it to a balance, and then using our wisdom to make our own personal choices. So mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the happiest of us all, when we can be 80% in wisdom instead of that 80% over here. When we can shift that over. Yeah, these voices are still going to go on 20% of the time. And actually, those voices sometimes are very important. So it's to understand that when we take them to their wisdom, those voices, we'll bring them down to the important things. And the emotional stuff we'll deal with. That's where we start to be responsible for ourselves in dealing with the emotions and bringing it from here and what we know here down into what we really know here. So we would call these the saboteurs, we would call this the wisdom, the sage, and looking at yourself when something comes up, thinking, okay, I'm supposed to go down 120, I'm told now. So I look at myself at 120 in all my wisdom. My mind is still sharp, and I'm looking back. So anything that I'm dealing with, I can look back and say, oh, this family circus I'm dealing with, and what should I be saying, and how should I be saying it? You know, that type. When I come home and I see my elder self, and how important is it? Like, what, when you look back on it from there, how will you be proud of yourself about how you dealt with it? And what's the wise way to deal with it? And then I can say, oh, thank God I'm back in my own energy and I can clear that stuff away. You see, that's because I let the wisdom come through and just calm myself down again, not get involved. Do what I need to do. So I'm back down to these saboteurs in their powerful 20%, guiding me and helping me, but I'm driving the bus. I'm driving my own bus. Therefore, whenever I'm driving my own bus, I'm the happiest of them all. I think that's kind of where I should wind the talking up, and we can move into the Q&A and the commentation. I am just going to mention that if this is resonating with you, then you could get in touch with me privately, and I could let you, give you the link to go and do a free assessment for yourself about who's talking over here and what's your answer over here. So there's a beautiful free assessment from this Charmin Sharad, blah, blah. I can never keep his name straight. That's okay. But it is there and it's available. And so you can get in touch with me if that's something of interest. But that's where the 80-20 and mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the happiest of them all, that kind of gives you my journey. Doesn't mean yours has to be the same, but until you take responsibility for you, period, and stop giving your power away by pointing out and saying, oh, them, well, when this happens, when that happens, you're giving your power away. And I'm inviting you to come and be happiest of them all because of you. So, Rini, do you want to carry on here?
Okay. Thank you so much, Sandra. I think that all of us have self-talk, not just at some point. It seems like it's all the time. It's just chatter in our head. We're not good enough. We don't have what it takes. We can't do it, whatever. Lori and I went to this little retreat this past weekend. The presenter, she talked about this different stage. It was I don't know if you're familiar. I'm not totally familiar with the diamond matrix system, but they have this where you're at the third dimension, you're struggling, you're still in the victim mentality, you're not taking responsibility. And then I think it's the fourth dimension is when you're shifting from that to a point where you get into this fifth dimension, which is where things are easy and flow and grace. So it's like you're almost like where you become an observer of the situation. And like when things happen, you don't just automatically react, because we tend to react. We're a reactor. And you kind of sit back, you take a deep breath, and you evaluate. Is this really important? Or is this really, what you observe the situation, you analyze it, and then oh, that's not a big deal, really. Why am I so worried? In the scheme of things, that's not, whatever. So it's kind of a very useful tool to have. I think part of it is as you get older, what is that cliche about the older you get, the wiser you are kind of thing. You gain wisdom as you grow. But again, part of the personal growth journey, I think that's where we really want to land. Like, where we want to be able to be that observer where we don't just react to any situation that come our way. So Lori, with that, since Lori and I went to the session, what are your thoughts on this topic?
Yeah, so thank you so much, Sandra. You're always very gifted with your words of wisdom, and I always love hearing your voice on the call. So I was really thankful for when you were talking about the 80-20 rule, about you talking about the Pareto principle, because I teach the 80-20 rule, but I actually had never heard of it being called the Pareto rule. So I had to Google it to find out what that meant. So I was like, wow, I learned something today. So that's really cool. So now I can actually sound really smart when I'm doing my training and stuff. So, but anyways, it's really true though. When you're on a life journey, you always, a lot of the times, you can't get it out of your own head unless you have tools that you've learned to be able to do that. And so for me, I grew up in a culture where, or a home where I was told what to do. I was told what to say. I was told, like it was a completely controlled environment. And I really had to, so of course, when I left home at the age of 15, I was always being influenced by what people told me that I was supposed to be doing and how I should be doing it. And I borrowed their beliefs because I believe that to be true. And it's only been in the last probably 10 to 12 years that I've really went on, a personal development journey to learn who I am authentically as a person, and to develop those tools. And that is really pertinent. Like you need to take that pause, like when people are coming at you, including yourself, coming at yourself,
especially ourselves, I think.
Yeah, you really do need to take a pause, and you need to ask the right questions. And that's kind of where I'm at in my journey right now, because there's always more than one truth, right? And that's something that I've really been exploring recently. So that's my thoughts. So thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Ava. Ava, are you able to talk?
Oh, yes. I just wanted, I was going to ask Julie to speak quietly because we're sitting in the same room. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I love you to bits, Sandra. And I'll tell you why I love you. Because the comfort I feel here when you speak is something I don't very often feel.
Wow.
There is this real thing about you. You are so beautifully real. And I really hope that to a certain extent, I am also real. But I could talk about 3 hours about what you have just talked about. And as you can all see, I'm very, very old. So obviously I've done, no, nobody is as old as I am here. I'm almost 120, Sandra, it's you. So I have done a lot of work, a lot of thinking, and I think my tombstone will say, I did it my way. But I have an issue, and if I could just very quickly ask your advice, because I am maybe not the queen of straight talk, I am the vice queen. I definitely say what I think if I am asked. But I have also learned that sometimes it's not the right thing to say what I think in certain situations. I mean, it's not, so I say nothing unless, as I say, unless somebody somebody asks me what I think. But my problem is my face says it all. You know, my late husband knew me extremely well, and it happened many times in certain social situations when he would pass by me and whisper into my ear, "Stop thinking what you're thinking." And that is something, you know, it gives me, I don't want this sometimes to happen, because my problem is I don't really want to hurt people if it is not necessary, if it is not going to be helpful, if I don't think that is going to make sense. So, or sometimes I just say nothing, but my face is terrible. And I was just talking to Julie earlier this morning. I said, I need the Arabic veil, you know, sometimes. No, because sometimes it doesn't really make sense. It doesn't do anybody any good to say certain things, you know, what I think. What do you do with your face when you have a face like this? Anybody has any?
Can you tell from my face? My face is exactly the same. I think when we are real,
yeah,
and we are just ourselves, it will show in our face. And that's a celebration. It's not what do I do to control myself. My most powerful recent reminder of a quote was, don't you dare ever dim your own personal light so that others can feel better about themselves. And that was a beautiful reminder. Okay. Whatever your face is saying, you might want to look at it and see, are you judging yourself and coming up? Like, this is where you'd say, oh, here come the judge, here come the judge. What are you judging? Because quite often when we're judging, that means we're pointing out and figuring that we know something that they don't know, and that's bullshit. We know nothing. We only know our own. And so if it doesn't fit with ours, then it's wrong. That's the judge.
You're absolutely right. It makes perfect sense. But you said earlier one thing that struck me as important and as right, of course, that it takes energy to judge. But you know, Sandra, I sometimes feel that it takes energy not to judge.
Absolutely. You know, in order for us to be safe, our human experience to me is I look at somebody and I make an instant judgment. Now that's why those voices are valuable. We just don't want them driving our bus. They get blown up. We want them at their 20% essence of their truth. So we look at somebody, we make an immediate judgment. We either are attracted or, oh, watch out, be careful. And from that stance, we test it a little bit further. And that's what small talk or networking would be like. Hi, how are you? And if they just ignore us, you know, sometimes you can go to a networking event. I remember one that was so blatant. He's shaking my hand. Hi, how nice to see you. And he's shaking his hand and looking around to see who's important enough to go to. I mean, that was just a beautiful, extreme example. And so even if they're okay people and they're not a threat, are they really here with us, or are they just seeing, you know, and you just let them go. So there's no value to spend my energy to try and keep that guy. I don't need him. Let him go. This is part of the sorting out. And so with that idea, yes, we are judging. Do they fit? Is there a conversation here to be had? And if not, love them, bless them, and let them go. And love them, bless them, and whatever your face is saying, fine. Just say, you know, you go have a great time. I'm just so happy to see you here mixing with people. You just go, you know, and they're gone. You're on to the next person. And when that next person wants to get into conversation, then that's a keeper for us. I obviously was not a keeper for the guy that's busy about wanting to make more money and know who's who. That's okay. So keep it safe.
Yeah, we sometimes we're people pleaser, don't we? I for the longest time. I like people to approve me, like I'm seeking
Mm.
people's approval. But as I get older, that's becoming less and less. Julie, your turn.
Unmute yourself. There we go.
What are your
Okay.
thoughts on this?
Well, we've been just, can you mute your, mute? I can hear, okay, I can hear my own voice. We were talking vastly about this morning, and I can't, is that better? Yes, better. I couldn't agree more with you, Sandra. I was thinking we belong to the same decade, shall we say, a decade. And Ava and I always have connected very much on many of these points. And we were talking about the judgment, but there's also judgment and sort of discretion about, there's levels, isn't there? But yeah, there's just so much happening in my life at the moment that I'm having to reflect on and have to go into my heart and create some peace in my mind, because what's happening for me is my own low self-opinion of myself is just dominating, and that has to be, so what I'm seeing in the mirror, I'm almost afraid of, and so that self-love is the utmost, and the peace of getting into that quiet space and putting away all this that's happening on the outside of me at the moment, that I just resonate with nearly everything you've said. And so yeah,
Thank you.
and it's wonderful to have Ava here, so we can bounce ideas off each other, and really we came from such a similar spot, and she's wonderful.
Thank you, Julie, for your comments. Kathleen.
Hey, I have two screens on because I couldn't get the audio to work on my laptop. So, Judy, I love you. I love everything that you said today. You're so genuine and down to earth and easy to understand. And obviously this lesson was something important for me today, because I just heard very similar lesson this morning from Panesh Desai. I listen to him every morning. He does a free half-hour thing, probably a little early for all of you on the West Coast. But if you go on paneshDesai.com, you can sign up for his free morning things. My time Eastern is 8:30 to roughly 9:15. And so this morning he was talking about how everybody's just on their own journey, and it really doesn't have anything to do with us. And like Miguel Ruiz says, never take anything personally, because it's not related to us. Their journey has nothing to do with our journey. So if we just focus on our journey and going within and becoming more loving of ourselves and more forgiving of ourselves, that will radiate out to others. So a lot of what I study is kind of lofty and esoteric, like A Course in Miracles and Center for Religious Science. So basically what you do is take these ideas and bring them down to an easy to understand human level, because sure, it would be great if we all realized that we're all one and we're all connected and everybody else is just a reflection of us. But we are human and we do have egos. And even though God says we're perfect as we are, do we really want to stay stagnant, or do we want to grow? And so the way that you speak and the things that you say make it more accessible and easy to understand on a human level. So I really appreciate you for who you are and what you have to say and what you have to offer. So thanks for being authentic and real. It reminds me of the Velveteen Rabbit.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're real. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kathleen. Thank you for your share. I call every one of you randomly, but you'll get a chance eventually. Joey is very late. She's in the Philippines. I don't know, 11, 12 o'clock at night. Go ahead, Joey.
It's almost 12 here, but yeah, thanks for the topic, Sandra. We all go through times when we self-sabotage. But I've learned to love myself and accept my strengths and weaknesses. As most of you know, our family practices the law of attraction for over 15 years now, and that has been our governing principle. You know, my turning point was in 2009 when I had my miscarriage, and I blamed myself for giving into fear because people were judging us on why we were not careful about having another baby, that it was my fifth cesarean section, that I might die, that we might not be able to support a big family. And all those negative opinions affected me, and I lost my baby. And it was then that I vowed to myself never to listen to anybody else's opinion ever again. And that's when I felt immense freedom, when I wasn't listening anymore to their opinion. From then on, we just did what we wanted to do in our family, regardless if our choices were not in accordance with the popular opinion, like homeschooling, you know, that we homeschooled our kids. And we've taught this also to our 5 kids, that they should never mind the opinion of others, especially if it runs contrary to their own truth. We've taught them values, we've molded their characters. So all they need to do is just always to go deep into what their hearts tell them, and that they'd be okay. And we also follow the Pareto principle, the 20-80 rule on success, and we always apply that in most of the things that we do. The 20% is just the mechanics. That's the easy part, like joining a weekly group like this one. But the 80% is the behavior, the discipline. Like, are we going to follow through? Are we going to commit to attend the meeting every week? And that's where we should focus more on how to develop ourselves on the 80%. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Joey, for your share. Carol.
Sandra, I really appreciate you sharing your authenticity and your vulnerability, sharing your wisdom. I appreciate that we are a like-minded group of women who are attracted to each other's wisdom and whatever we bring to the table to share. I want to say that I love your pink hair. This is awesome. I love the way you coordinated with your pink sweater. And therefore, this is just one of the ways that you contribute to the world. Bring your joy and your uniqueness. I also studied Shirzad Shamine's positive intelligence.
Okay.
This is a very powerful body of work to get to know yourself and to get to know others. And to get to know ourselves really is the most powerful thing of all, because, you know, we spend so much time fighting with ourselves. And fighting with ourselves is not productive. It eats and consumes our life force. So if we can come across these tools, as many of you have been talking about, tools to love ourselves, to befriend ourselves, to be on our own side, then we can condense the amount of time that we spend in strife or self-recrimination or disconnection from ourselves. So if we can begin with ourselves first, then we can be more successful at our union with others and our embrace of others. So what I think of these tools, and I've been on a spiritual journey myself for a while. I think of these tools as tools to flood in the positivity and flood out the negativity.
I like that.
What we want to do is fill ourselves with positivity and positive tools so that the negativity doesn't have much room to exist. We want to flood it out. So anyway, that's what I I appreciate Joey for sharing her tools. Sandra, appreciate for you sharing your tools. Everybody that's spoken so far, I appreciate for sharing their tools. The tool that I want to share, I'm from Hawaii, and the tool is Ho'oponopono,
Yes.
which is an ancient system of conflict resolution. The modern version is called Self-Identity Ho'oponopono. There is a fabulous book by Joe Vitale, who is also a law of attraction person. The book is called Zero Limits, and it really and truly changed my life. I really have so much more peace now. I have a tool that I carry with me throughout the day. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol, for your share. Mary Ann.
I have to apologize to everyone. For some reason, I had the meeting at 10:30 on my calendar. It's been a lot going on, so I missed the presentation, Sandra, and I'm really feeling bad about it.
Well, it'll be on replay.
Yes, definitely. But something that Carol was saying, it really resonates with me as far as when you feel the judge coming, and that Ho'oponopono, and I've been practicing it since I learned it, more so actually this last year, and more so in last couple of months since my mother came to visit me, and I stopped myself, and when I feel that I'm judging, or I want to shut out, or I want to like snap at my mother, out of love, why aren't you eating your fruit or something like that? Then I stop myself, and I, in my mind, I say, I'm sorry, please forgive me, I love you, and I thank you. And it really works. It changes. Perhaps Eve, it would show on our face too, that now my face would be more loving rather than being critical. So I'm practicing, I'm really, practicing this, and I hope that I could really change this in myself, because we're all doing it. We're all judging, whether we like it or not, we do. And sometimes that judgment is not because we're bad people or they're doing something, because out of care, out of love. Like if they do it this way, they would succeed more. If they do it this way, they would be healthier. It's all out of love. So, but then, yeah, this is something that I can just share with you. But I will go ahead and listen to Sandra's, presentation at the recording. And again, please forgive me.
You're muted, Rini. Rini, you're muted.
Oh, I said thank you, Mary Ann. Sorry, I didn't realize I was going to cough, so I muted myself. I was going to say that it's almost 8 o'clock. If you need to leave, we understand, but we're going to give everyone a chance to say something. And Sandra, if that's okay with you.
That's good.
And so let's go to Rowena.
Thanks, Rennie, for inviting me. This is my first time I've had a coffee morning Zoom call. But Sandra, I think that was a great talk because I think mirror, mirror, who's the happiest? If you're not happy, you can't move forward. And to me, all my life, I've been my own cheerleader because we come from a family of six. And so it was, I mean, and I am older than you think. I'm going to be 65 this year. But I believe, you know, that one thing about, you know, networking and you talking to someone and you're shaking their hand and they're looking all around. I mean, you've got to let things go because I think you can't judge someone when they're doing that, or if you're calling someone because they said, oh, give me a call, because maybe they're not ready to hear your message or not ready to hear. So I always think that you can't, for me, take it personal. They're just not at the right place. And to me, that's a lot of thinking in your brain, like, what did I do? So you have to have that self-talk all the time. And if you're living in the moment and you're feeling people, because if you're wandering around and your mind's not there, you're not there for a reason. So to me, that talk mirror, mirror on the wall, because it's like, we're married. I'm married for 37 years. I can't help him. He has to help himself. I'm here to support you, but you're the only person that can make you happy. Because if you're happy, then you can love and you can do everything else. And to me, that was a great talk, because sometimes when you're calling and they ghost you and you're going, okay, maybe this is not for me. But no, it's not. You can't have that brain just keep telling you, because we have that bad side and the good side, more for the bad side. But here you have to just say, no, I know what I need to do. I know I'm confident. And so sometimes this was a great talk, because mirror, mirror, we're the worst when it comes to saying we're the first one to blame ourselves, and we're the first one to put ourselves down, and we're the first saying that we have no confidence, and we're the first person to say, but if we change that thought process, it does make a difference in our life. So thank you for that, because I'm kind of going through that right now with my my business family. It's not me, they're just not ready. And sometimes we want it so much for them because we see the potential for them, but we have to let it go. And that's where this is what I'm saying this year, 2024. And so it is. And it's very peaceful. So thank you, Sandra, for that talk. It was great. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, but I mean, we have to back off because they have to want their personal growth more than we want it for them. So I was working so hard for them instead of just holding the space and holding their feet to the fire. That's a whole different shift as well. So thank you. That was lovely.
Thank you, Lorena. Barbara, did you say you have to step away for a minute? We'll go to Christine. Christine, doing random thing here. You're muted. You're still muted, Christine. Let me see if I can unmute you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, sorry. Thank you so much, Sandra, for your presentation. It was amazing, and I would love to talk with you more, and keep this really, really brief. And I owe Rini so much appreciation and gratitude for inviting me into this coffee club. This is only my second or second really group, and it's having such a positive impact on my life. And it's so nice to hear other women from, around the world, around the area, that have like-minded thoughts and thoughts about self-improvement and self-love, and also being an individual. And so I can relate on so many levels. So just thank you very, very much. It's great.
Thank you, Christine. Faith? Sure. Faith, are you there?
Hi, Sandra. Thanks for doing the talk today. I have a question. And I don't know if anybody else feels like this, but I think when we're healing, it can be sort of analogous to having a splinter. You know, when you have the splinter in there, you know it needs to come out. And if you touch it or you push on it, it hurts. And it hurts until you get it out. So I like to think about some of my challenges, such as when I find someone I don't like or they rub me the wrong way, as a personal splinter. So when you were talking to us about if we meet someone that irritates us, or their personality irritates us, or their talk irritates us, that we have 7 layers to ask questions. I kind of got the impression you were going to tell us about what those 7 layers were. And I was wondering if I misunderstood that, or if you were going to elaborate on that. In any case, that's my question, and thank you and Happy New Year.
Thank you, Faith. So Sandra, go ahead and explain.
I was going to, I guess if we're staying on here, is there somebody would like to go into the why, the 7 layers of what your challenge is? Okay, Julie.
Faith, do you want to go into it since Faith has the question?
Well, I'd like to know, but I don't want to take over, anybody's time. I would like it to be sort of a collective thing, but of course, that's not my choice. I'm curious.
Do you want to do it, Faith, or you want to have Julie go through it? I think it's easier to, I can't do it as a collective. I'm going to have to do it as one person, and you would be thinking your own way through the whole process. So it's for the collective to learn the process, but to demonstrate it needs just one person. So Faith, are you feeling that you would want to have me with my straight talk digging down, or do you want Julie to do it?
No, I'd rather Julie do it. I'm scared.
No, sorry, I do not want to do this tonight either.
Oh, okay. So anybody would like to go digging? That's okay. It is
Omeka hasn't had a chance yet. Sandra.
Yeah, I'll do it. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm open. Yes.
Well, just share a little bit about what you would like to discover about yourself, Omeka. What's your biggest challenge at the moment? What's top of the mind?
Trusting my worth, my gifts, whatever they are, whether jewelry making or drumming, or trusting myself.
Really trusting that who you are and what you bring to the world is really okay and enough and of value. Why is that important to you? To learn about trusting yourself. What's that about? Why is that?
I feel like I'll be more at peace and more happy.
And why is that important? Why do you care to be at peace and happy?
Because as human beings, we're supposed to be happy. And we're supposed to, we'll leave it at that. I'm supposed to be happy because I'm alive, and love was put into my soul and spirit to bring me into the planet. So
why is it
I have certain things I need to.
Why is it important to you? Because you're supposed to be. What's that about those rules? You're supposed to be. Listen to the word that come out of your mouth. I'm supposed to be. What's that important? What's important about that for you, Omeka?
People will love me more.
And why is that important?
Because what other people think about me is important. It matters.
Why is that? What's that important to you? Why do you care what other people think about you? Why is that important to you?
Because I don't trust in just my own worth and how I feel about myself.
So what? Why does that matter?
It'll help me feel less alone and afraid.
So why would that matter? Why do you care if you feel less alone and less afraid? What's that about?
It's bringing up a lot of terror and sadness for me right about now. Because I really do care about community and family and friends and feeling a part of a bigger than me situation.
Yeah. So what? So what? Why do you give a shit about being part of something bigger? Just because you know there's something bigger, you're not feeling a part of it. Why does that matter?
Because I matter. And I'm important.
And why does it matter that you know that?
I'm the only one that can live inside of my body, my heart, my head. And I really don't, well, I'm the only one. So if it doesn't come from me, then where is it coming from?
Where does what come from? Love and place?
Self-love, yeah. This is self-love, self-care. No one else can come into my body and live my world or feel what I'm feeling or think what I'm thinking. So that's the most important.
And is that where you're living now?
More and more, yes.
I'm just going to turn this. There's my list as I went down through it with you. Okay. And this is very superficial. What I have is trust. I just pulled out the words trust, peace and happy, supposed to be happy. People will love me more. Other people think, well, that matters to me. I don't trust myself. Because if I really trusted myself, I would feel less alone and afraid. And that terror and sadness that's starting to well up in me right now and that I'm feeling, that bingo is where you're going to work on yourself and work through that and let it go, because you know it's all bullshit, because you really do care. You are a part of the bigger picture. And you want to feel that, but you're already feeling that if you can just let go of that bullshit. Because we know who you are, and you know, because you say, I matter and I am important. You said that. Let me hear you say that one more time. I do matter. Let me hear you.
I do matter. I am important. I love
say
myself.
It again.
I do myself. I do matter.
I want to hear that go.
I matter. I am important. Yes.
I do matter.
I do matter.
One more time.
Me, Omeka Laura Marie Washington, does matter. I matter. I matter. I do
really do matter.
I really do matter.
And I want to thank you for not going into your foolishness of, yeah, I matter. You see what happens, that deflects you away from what you're really doing. This, I matter. I really do matter. Let that go down in your heart. And know, because here's the matter. I matter, important. The last I put down was to know and live inside myself, because I came into the world alone. I'm going to die alone. And you're living with that with your mother. She's also, even though you're there looking after her, she's going to die alone, even if you're there. We pass that veil alone, and so do you. So do I. And I love you, Omeka, for the courage to publicly go through these layers. That was, you know, when you got down to the first 4, they were starting to just be okay. And then there was a shift. And if anybody was listening with their gut, The shift was that, okay, now it's going down into my heart. And I want to hear you one more say, right from your gut, there's only me and I do matter. Let me hear you say it, Rebecca. There's
Right
only
from my gut, there's only me and I do matter. I do
you
matter.
are a true blessing to the world. So stop flinging your arms and being silly. I want this woman that I've just met this moment.
Thank you.
Blessings.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Oh my gosh, Omeka, thank you for being willing to do that exercise. I could feel your heart when you started getting very sad. I think it's the fourth or fifth deep. I feel your heart. I could feel you. Thank you, Sandra, for
See, I could have stopped at, okay, I don't trust myself. There's the issue. But see, it's not the issue. The issue is deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper. And that's why, as the compassionate queen of straight talk, if you're not ready to work, I'm not the one for you because I'm too hard and brutal. I always thought it was brutal, but people said, no, you're not brutal. You come from love, but you hold the feet to the fire. And that's the work I do. And as I experience people with, like Olmeka, with the strength to do it, then I start to realize, okay, Sandra, it's not about whether you're worth charging and being the coach. It's about finding those people who are in pain, who are ready and willing to step into that pain and let the bullshit go. Olmeka, you can let all that other bullshit go because all that matters is that you know you do matter. And you take care of your own loneliness, which will no longer exist. You might be alone, but you will not be lonely. And if you are, you reach out and talk to some of us. I live alone. Everybody's died around me. My son died. I've got my daughter who's struggling. I've got my sister is the only last one. And the two of us look at each other and say, this isn't looking too good. Who's gonna? But you know, you have to laugh because we're all going to go across the veil. So we can choose how we want to be before we go across the veil when we look back and say that was bullshit, worrying about what the rest of the world thought because they were busy with their own stuff. So you are a very blessed human who has had an extremely extreme, and I know some of your story. I know you went through that terror. I can't imagine going through it, but we each go through our own terror, which is called, what do other people think and how am I going to walk on enough eggshells to keep everybody happy? And nobody cares. Nobody cares. You know why? Because I care, because you care. And we care about being the people we want to be, that we choose to be. So when you look at what's going to be on the tombstone, yours is going to be, I do matter. And I do care.
That's very, very powerful. Thank you so much, Sandra and Omeka. And all of you really, and I think the important message here is that we have a choice, or we have choices, how we respond to things. Things is going to happen. Some things you have control, some things you don't. But we have the choice to choose how we want to react or respond to it. So with that, so grateful to all of you here. Thank you so much. It's been a great, great session. I will post the recording, and I will also post the announcement that for the topic for next week. I think it's Suzanne Plumley about the bridge to the ASPE, the autism spectrum and how we can deal with that. We're talking about judgment here, and that's kind of related topic. So I would really appreciate your coming and supporting her, because we want, to support the diversity and the inclusion of all of these. So again, and especially Rowena, I'll be seeing you for coffee soon. And Christine and all of you, Mariam, so good to see you. Joey from the Philippines, Kathleen, Lori, and Julie and Eva from Amsterdam. And Faith, of course, Faith, thank you for asking that question to Sandra about the 7 layers deep. That is awesome. With that, everyone, and Omeka, thank you for being, willing to volunteer for that. So thank you again. Have a great day. Have a great week. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week. Sandra. Let me turn it back to Sandra to close this out before I say goodbye. Go ahead, Sandra.
Okay, I just want to say that the work is hard. It's simple. You've seen it in action with Omeka. The work is simple, but it's hard because we have to deal with ourselves. But it is worth every step. And again, if you wish to get in touch with me, get in touch with me with a private message, and we can probably have enough here that we could make a little group that would be an affordable way of digging and rooting around. But that's only if you're interested in that kind of work. So blessings. Happy day. Thank you.
Let's unmute and say thank you to Sandra.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thank you, Sandra.
Thanks, Sandra.
Thanks,
You're amazing.
Thank you, Sandra. Amazing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.